Cliche goes, defense wins championships. They win playoff games, too. Just ask the Houston Texans. They destroyed the Pittsburgh Steelers last night. They looked like the 85 Bears, that defense. You realize the last throw in the storied legacy of Aaron Rodgers is probably going to be a pick six unless he decides to come back, which could happen. He didn't have a terrible year. He did engineer them to 10 wins. He did get them to the playoffs, as did Mike Tomlin, who, by the way, has now lost 9 straight playoff games in the first round. He's never in 19 years had a sub-500 team. But most people judge you, particularly when you've built a program to a certain level with different expectations, and the first-round exits, that may be the thing that gets Tomlin. Now, if I'm the Rooneys, I'm not letting him go. I think he's a heck of a coach, just like I wouldn't let Matt LaFleur go if I were the Green Bay Packers, and I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to extend him. But, nonetheless, we may have seen the last of Tomlin and Rodgers. And the thing that will be in my head with Rodgers, not just the pick six, did you see him try to tackle the guy who made the pick? That was one of the great, I don't think so, kind of tackles I've ever seen. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. The Grizz took off for Berlin yesterday. They landed. Ja was with them. Ja did not practice at their little open practice. They had a press conference. At the press conference, there were 30 different countries that were represented. That's how much interest there is in Europe and the NBA. This is why they're there. This is why Adam Silver put these in-season real games in Europe. So this first one's in Germany, and what was the first question one of those 30 countries wanted to ask? Of course. Is Ja here? Is he going to play? Thomas Isalo, what did he say? He said, looks pretty good. Of course it looks good. What is a contusion? Would you do me a favor, Landon Schmidt? Look up through Google, however you do it. You're very, very quick on these things. Give me the exact definition of a contusion. My impression of it, and I'm certainly not a doctor or an orthopedic guy, nothing of that nature, but a contusion, I've always thought, is a bruise. You got a bruise. What's a contusion? Give me the wording.
It is a medical term for a bruise, an injury to soft tissue.
The guy's missed 6 games for a bruise.
Well, it also goes on to say where small blood vessels break, causing blood to leak and pool under the skin. Also a very fancy definition for a bruise.
Yeah, it looks ugly.
It does look bad, but it's a bruise.
But it's not bad.
It's a bruise.
You know what really this is? Bruised ego.
Indeed.
So, here's the deal. Is he going to play? Yes, he's going to play. You know why he's going to play? Because it's important, 1, to the league. I shouldn't say 1. 3, to the league. Adam Silver put these games there to highlight what he thinks are good teams with stars that will attract more interest in Europe to the NBA. Because, you know, in the back of Adam's head, there is a thing about starting a new NBA league in Europe. That's what this is all about. He wants the best players there to play. Now, I don't think he's got any real leverage to go to Grizzlies brass and say he's got to play, but he could whisper, the league really wants you to play, get over your issues. That's 3. 2, it would help Ja to be more tradable if he came in and showed he could still play a couple of games back to back and be good. You don't even have to win the game. Just be good. Get 25 to 35 points. Get 8 to 12 assists. Be active. Be springy. Go to the hole. You don't even have to shoot threes. Go to the hole. Just show everybody you still got it, so you're tradable. That's 2. Here's number 1. Nike wants him to play. He's making all that money from Nike. He's got this great shoe. They want that European sale. 100% he's playing. 100% he's playing. Unless the Grizzlies brass tried, for whatever reason, to take him out for his attitude. And I don't think that's going to happen either because they want to trade him. They want him to be happy enough to move. So I would bet you anything. What is it? Tomorrow at 1 is the first game. The next one's Sunday at 11 in Europe. I think that's right. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock, I'll bet you he's in the starting lineup. No doubt in my mind about that. The Tigers basketball team tries to rebound tomorrow. That's at FedEx Forum at 7 against Temple. The Owls have won 7 in a row. They are 3-0 in American play. I'm not sure their schedule has been great. The 2 last wins were against ECU at UTSA. UTSA is clearly not only the worst team in the league, one of the worst teams in America, I think. So, I'll be watching and wondering if they are the real deal. Because if they were to lose to Memphis tomorrow, they would be 3-1. The Tigers would be 3-1. The only undefeated team at this point, as I've looked at the schedule, would be Tulane, who's 3-0, and I forget who they play. We'll talk about that on the roundtable tomorrow in our last segment. There is now a story around the Temple team. It's not a good one. It's a sad one. Our thoughts and prayers out to the Courtney family. Bill Courtney, an assistant coach who I think was with Adam Fisher when he got there 2 years ago. This is, I think, his 3rd year in Philly. He suddenly passed away. I have looked for this story. If you can find anything on it, Landon, let me know. I looked, but it was mentioned with a great deal of surprise by Greg Gaston just a little bit ago. He said, and we don't know what happened. I don't know if this was something that he was ill for a long time or if this was a sudden passing, but Bill Courtney, an assistant coach for Adam Fisher's team, has passed away, and I don't know if that will affect the game or at all. I'm sure it will affect the team. There will be a great deal of grief, I'm certain, when all of that comes about. So that is the sad news. Last thing before we hook up with the Big Cheese, the head-on show. I got to give the PGA Tour, their board, including Tiger Woods, who's on that board, their new CEO, a lot of credit. So this is the way I think this played out. Brooks Koepka said, guys, I'm really sorry. I want to come back. Is there a way forward for me to come back to the PGA Tour? This was a couple of months ago. The board came up, or the CEO came up, somebody came up with this brilliant plan, and I love it. There's definitely a punitive part of this. But they said, the board, we're going to give players who meet these requirements a path back. There's definitely financial penalty, but you can come back if you have won a major or the Players' Championship since 2022. Well, why would they have done that? I'll tell you why they would have done that. Because there's only 4 players that could possibly match that description. They are Brooks Koepka. What a surprise. They are Bryson DeChambeau, maybe the biggest name in golf right now. They are Jon Rahm, amongst the top 5 names in golf right now. And I shouldn't say that DeChambeau's number 1, because Scotty Scheffler is. But DeChambeau may be number 2. And Rahm is certainly in the top 5. And then the other one is Cameron Smith, the Australian, who's really been a good player. He's not done much on the LIV Tour, but he's good, and he was very good on the PGA Tour, and he's young, so they would not mind having that name, which is a name that LIV will try to promote if he stays. One-time deal. Got to make your decision by February the 2nd. There's a $5 million penalty right off the bat. You've got to give that money to charity. I don't know where Brooks is going to send his money, but he's got to give that to charity. There's no access to the FedEx Cup money, the bonus money in 2026. So you can't make any money there. The biggest thing is you are not going to be allowed in their equity grants, and that's for 5 years, which the experts say, depending on how well you do, the more you make, the more you could make. That's $50 to $85 million in penalties. So if you had just a great, unbelievable next 5 years, with the $5 million to charity, there's a $90 million penalty. I think it's punitive enough. Some people thought they should have had to sit out a year. I'll bet you Brandel Chambly felt that way. I can live with this. And I love it that it was designed only to take the stars away. Now, I do think for John Rahm and in particular Bryson DeChambeau, if the Saudis and the PIF fund, Public Investment Fund, if they want to keep this league going, DeChambeau's going to get offered like $1 billion. You watch. It'll be crazy. If they want to. I don't know if DeChambeau, and that may be an offer he can't refuse. But if he wants to get back into competition, here's his window. He's got to decide by February the 2nd. For the next couple, we got this Tuesday, and then on the 23rd, Friday the 23rd, when the big date is for the decision by the College Football Playoff Committee, what they're going to do. We will still be visiting with our friend, the Big Cheese, the head honcho of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. The numbers have come in on the bowls, the TV ratings, which are incredibly important considering ESPN owns 17 of these things. Steve Earhart, how were the numbers? What did you do? Good morning.
Good morning, David. Yes, and even though we had a little difficulty with that weatherman, we were very pleased with the ratings. And the way to look at the TV ratings is one that's so important to our mission, which is to focus Memphis, the platform, to the rest of the country, and compare us to the other bowls of like kind of situations. So if you look at it this way, there's 27 non-CFP ESPN bowl games that are, over that period of almost a month now. And of the 27 of those games, we were the 5th highest ranked. Now, of course, we got beat by a couple of those big guys there, the Alamo Bowl and the Tampa Bowl that have premier time slots. But out of the 27 of those ESPN bowls, we were 5th highest rated with a 3.4 average over the 3.5 hours, and it peaked at over 4 million. And we also, which is great, there's 2 other bowls that are not on ESPN, the Sun Bowl, which is on CBS, and the Holiday Bowl, two really classy operations. We beat both of those head to head, and what I like most of all too is we were ahead of the Houston Bowl, which is in our SEC pool, and we beat the Duke's Mayo Bowl, which is in the SEC pool as well. So yes, thank you to all those folks that tuned into the game, and again, a special thanks to all the sponsors and our partners here in Memphis, and those that stayed out in that very unusual rainstorm throughout the game. I don't think there's been another time in the last 30 years when it rained so continually throughout the day. And what was really unusual was that the day before the game, with our downtown parade, one of Memphis's biggest downtown events, it was beautiful. Many of you watched it on television here, and you saw that the superintendent of the Naval Academy with his family, and they were in shirt sleeves. And then the day after the game, it was nice again. So, again, it's going to happen. Some years we're not going to have that beautiful weather, but again, we're very pleased that we had a good, solid performance there with the television ratings.
Now, in fairness, those ratings were down 23%, but you can only go by what by what everybody else did. So you were still the 5th most watched game. I don't know if that means the bowl numbers for the year were slightly down like that, because that's what it makes me think, and that is part of the big picture here. I know you're sad. You got a great sponsor. If you're the 5th best bowl, ESPN's still going to love you. But that's interesting that the numbers across the board are down that way.
No, that's not true, David. The numbers for all the bowl games are up significantly over the year when you take into account. So now when you use that figure in comparing us just to last year, now we ebb and flow depending on the quality of the closeness of the game. Now it was an interesting game watching, that Navy offense, but Navy controlled the entire game. Those of you who watched the game, it really wasn't a close game. So that's why we didn't achieve the same numbers that we did last year. Last year we had the highest rating in 10 years. So when you compare our game to last year when it was a shootout. Remember, Texas Tech and Arkansas were back and forth. There was a lot of scoring, and it put it in ESPN's words. They were very pleased with the ratings based on the game. It wasn't even close. Navy had control of the entire game. And what we find with bowls, and again, I think this is true throughout the entire fall season, is when you have a good, close game, that's when people will come to the TV set. For example, the Rate Bowl, which a lot of people really never heard of. It's the second game in Phoenix, and they had Minnesota versus New Mexico, but they had a close game. It was an overtime game, and they scored the highest rating in the history of that bowl game, which was a surprise to everybody, except for the fact that when you have a good, close game, people with their clickers, including all of us, they're running around on back one channel to another, and if the game is close, they'll stay with it. So, yes, we were down from last year because we had the highest rating we've had in 10 years. But when you compare apples to apples, when we compare it to all the other bowl games, and to beat out the Sun Bowl on big CBS and the Holiday on big Fox, that's really good. So yes, we were down from last year because we did not have a close game. Now next year, if we have another close game, 3 years ago when we had that overtime game, Kansas and Arkansas, triple overtime, we scored great there towards the end. And so, but at the end of our game, it was out of control, and 35-13, Navy dominated. So yeah, when you look at ratings, it's going to ebb and flow year to year. But the fact that ESPN is very pleased with the entire bowl lineup, especially the quote non-CFP bowl games. When you look at the Citrus Bowl an all-time high, and the Pinstripe Bowl an all-time high, and so I think there's no question that there's strength in the bowl system. Now a lot of people are set warning signals, what's going to happen with the CFP, and you're right, David. This week is a big week for college football. The commissioners are all meeting this Sunday down in Miami, the day before the championship game there in Miami, and out of that, they just about have to come to a decision, or else everything will stay the same for the 26th year. Because, and you pointed this out on your show, originally the deadline for the ESPN renewal of all the bowl games, including the CFP, was supposed to be December 1st of 25, and then magically it got postponed for 7 weeks until January 23rd, which is next week, and that was because there was some talk. Well, let's get together. Let's see how this year's 12-team playoff goes. So a lot is going to happen here in these next couple of weeks.
What do you think? Ultimately, by a week from Friday, the 23rd of January, what do you expect will happen? And keep in mind, there are some that say it stays at 12, and I don't know. You're going to be fighting for your bowl affiliations, but the playoffs will stay at 12, and you'll have a better picture, at least for a few years, of that. Some say it goes to 16. The Big Ten's got a proposition out there for 24. Tell me what you think as an insider is going to happen a week from Friday.
Yeah, Dave, you said it perfectly. I don't think anybody really knows, because it's down to this competition between the Big Ten and the SEC. And what I really think is that the Big Ten is pushing hard, because remember, you always look to follow the money. Where's the money coming from? The Big Ten, it's coming from Fox. Now, Fox does not have a position in the CFP as it is currently organized. Remember, they're all ESPN games, and of course ESPN farmed out a couple of them to, license them to TNT, and then they also produce on ABC, which is part of the ESPN family. But so Fox wants to get in on the CFP, so if they push for expansion, then Fox may get some of those highly rated CFP games. So you got Fox and the Big Ten on one side, and you got ESPN and the SEC on the other side. So, I honestly don't have an insight. Back December, I was convinced that they were going to stay at 12. Now I think, some of these national prognosticators are saying, well, there's a momentum to go to 16, but now the latest twist is that the Big Ten is saying, well, they'll vote for the 16, but only if they have some kind of a commitment to go to 24, down the road. I think most of the folks that I think really matter say, well, let's make sure we don't screw up the regular season, because as you see, and sometimes in some of the other sports, whether the NBA, everybody is just saying, well, we're going through the regular season just to get position for the playoffs. And so I don't think that would be healthy for college football, because throughout the fall, it's such a tradition and institution, and you get great highly rated games both in local attendance and in television attendance throughout the regular season. So you said it best, Dave. It's probably a 50-50 proposition whether there's some kind of breakthrough, whether they do go to 16. I'm convinced they will not go to 24, so I'll say that much. But I think that it'll either be 12 for another short period of time, or they could go to 16 for this next 6-year contract.
If they did, let's just say worst case scenario, 5 years from now, because that's what the Big Ten's pushing for. They go to 24. How does that affect your business, the bowl business?
Yeah, there certainly will. There'll be a contraction, and that's why I think I've been very vocal saying that we're in a strong position for our 4 or 5 fundamental reasons. The biggest and most important is we have a great local partner in AutoZone, and who's very pleased. We've delivered great ratings for them, and it's a great working partnership with AutoZone throughout the year. Number one. Number two, we have great local participation. We have 150 local corporate partners and an association of members here in town, and we do a good job with the hospitality. And number three, and it's not unimportant, is that there's a great legacy and history. I think that those of you who watch the game on television, ESPN did a really nice job going back, showing the old photographs from the original founding of the bowl in 1959, and talked about the history and the legacy and all the events that Memphians put together throughout the year. I know both the universities were really impressed by the award to the head coaches' wives on the night before at the beautiful gala at the Peabody the night before. The parade, when you had the Marine General, the superintendent of the Naval Academy, riding in the parade with his family, and there's so many events that we do. So legacy, history, and hospitality, I think, is important. And then the new stadium. When I say new, it's certainly a revamped Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. There'll be some great, luxury suite seats and premium seating and so on. So that's all coming on board. So I think it bodes well that although there'll be a contraction of some of the bowls, and you're right, David, because ESPN, not only do they control 17 of the teams directly, that they own those teams, but you've already seen a contraction here with the Los Angeles Bowl, which was just basically, it was created by the new stadium out there, but they've got the Chargers and the Rams playing there, so they just decided they're not going to continue that. And of course, they didn't have any legacy or history or much community involvement. And then the Bahamas Bowl, which was a logistical nightmare, which they had there in the Bahamas for a while, then they moved it over to the facility in Fort Worth, the Star.
Yeah.
So ESPN has already announced that bowl will not continue. So there'll probably be a contraction. But all in all, I've talked to a couple other bowl executive directors yesterday, and they were bullish about going forward, and they had good quality television. And so I don't think there'll be any huge contraction, but there might be a couple other bowls that maybe don't continue into the future, depending on what you said. Quite frankly, what ESPN decides in a big way. But they've been very positive with us, and we're one of the oldest, if not the oldest, partner of ESPN. When the AutoZone Liberty Bowl was originally on ESPN, 40 years ago, or almost, I think ESPN almost shortly after the founding of ESPN, about 1980, the bowl moved over from ABC to ESPN. So we've got a good, positive, forward-looking approach.
The only older bowls I can think of that are still around would be the Rose, the Sugar, the Cotton. The Fiesta is not as old as the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Is the Sun Bowl, I think, is maybe older.
You're 100% right.
So
the Sun
that's
Bowl is
four.
one of those.
Who,
There's six.
Yeah, who are the other two?
I think you hit it right. They were Rose, Sugar, Cotton, Orange, and Sun, I believe, are
That's
5 or 6 there.
That's 5. We're missing one. We're missing one bowl. That's it.
Maybe it's the Gator.
That's
Could
right.
be the
It is.
Gator
It's the
Bowl.
Gator Bowl.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, the next time we talk, maybe it'll be a little bit more clear. We're going to talk to you right on the 23rd. That's the day the decision is supposed to come out. Maybe you'll have some insight then. We appreciate it. Congratulations on the numbers that you're happy with, and the weather just killed you in the incomplete stadium. But all that goes away, and hopefully you get your affiliations that you want.
If you'll just take care of the weather next year, that'll be your mission assignment there. So that'll be terrific. You have a good voice there and a direct pipeline. So I'm marking that down now. Woloshin's in charge of weather.
I'll start praying.
Okay, thank you, David.
I'll start praying for you right now. Thank you. Bye-bye. That's the big cheese, the head honcho of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. That is Steve Earhart. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we head to Baton Rouge. We'll talk about the college football playoffs, the big game coming up, and a whole lot more. That's with our SEC historian, Rod Higgins. He's on the way.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Maria's Cantina in South Haven is not your average Tex-Mex joint because they're serving up Mexican with a twist. Maria's Scratch Kitchen is the most creative and diverse menu around. Beyond the traditional huge quesadillas, chimichangas, and fajitas, Maria serves up hand-rolled Latin egg rolls, Cajun and Creole items like catfish, gumbo, and boudin balls, as well as the best sandwiches and 8-ounce burgers in town. Wash it all down with a house margarita for only $5.50 and happy hour every day till 6. MariasCantina.com, 6717 Airways, Mexican with a twist.
Chris Price here with Metro Builders Roofing and Restoration. Let me ask you something. Are you seeing unsightly water spots on your ceiling, in your home, your office, or even worse, mold? Have you noticed shingles missing, pieces in your yard, or signs your roof just doesn't look right anymore? Here's the facts. What you see inside usually means there's already a bigger problem above you. At Metro Builders, we don't just guess, we inspect. Our team performs a full roof inspection right on site. We take detailed photos, document everything, and show you exactly what's happening with your roof. Whether it's a simple repair or a full replacement, don't let anyone tell you it needs to be replaced when all it needs is a repair. We offer free inspections, on-the-spot estimates, clear explanations, and yes, financing is available. Before a small issue turns into major damage, make the phone call that protects your home. Call me. 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717. Or check us out online at metrobuildersmemphis.com. Metro Builders Roofing and Restoration. We don't just build, we build world class.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56 560 AM and 98.5 FM, your Mid-South sports station.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Let's head down to Baton Rouge. Ron Higgins standing by. What pair of playoff games we saw. One intriguing, a classic. That was Ole Miss and Miami. Then the dominance of Indiana over Oregon. Pretty impressive. I guess let's start off with the question everybody has been asking since the game. Final buzzer sounded on the Hail Mary. Was there pass interference? Would you, if you were a referee on a Hail Mary at the end of the game when Trinidad Chambliss threw that ball in the air to the corner back left side of the end zone, would you have called pass interference? Good morning, Ron.
Morning. Yeah, I would have called pass interference. I mean, there's a jersey grab. I mean, most of the time, if guys are just shoving back and forth, they don't really call it unless it's an unbelievable shove. But when you grab a jersey, I mean, that's a blatant hold. And, yeah, it should have been a 15-yard penalty. They would have had, one last play from the 20-yard line. I thought they deserved that shot. I hate something like that is not reviewable, because in that case, it should be. I think anything inside of 2 minutes should be reviewable. That should have been reviewable.
I'll say this much. If they start reviewing PI calls or the lack of PI calls, first of all, the game will never end.
Well, yeah, I know that.
Because there's pass interference every time. And in that particular case, there were two Miami defenders there. There was chicken fighting on both sides. But this debate will go on forever because there was no call. And you're right. All it would have meant, a lot of people think that ball goes back to the 2 like it does in the NFL. It doesn't. It's a 15-yard penalty. And you can't end the game on a defensive penalty, so there would have been one more untimed play from the 20-yard line, and it would have been another long Hail Mary kind of thing. To me, Hail Marys, the ball's up for grabs. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I thought that ball was pretty well, close, pretty well thrown. I just think inside of 2 minutes, something should be reviewed like that. I mean, if they want to put a rule in, they can review anything. Put it inside 2 minutes where the game's kind of being decided. But other than that, I mean, like you said, they can't call it every play. You can't review the game because, like you said, the games would take 4 hours if that happened. Because if they called every hold on the offensive line, every pass call, games would be like 6 hours long. So, but maybe inside of 2 minutes, they should look at that. They should discuss that.
The last pass that may have been thrown in a college game by Trinidad Chambliss is going to have that question mark. But will there be others? He's lost his bid for a 6th year of eligibility, but now he's going to go to a Mississippi court to try and get that overturned. This kind of reminds me of the James Wiseman thing, which didn't work out very well for Memphis. What do you think happens here? Does Ole Miss have a real case here?
I don't know if they have a real case or not at this point. I mean, if the NCAA took that long to take a look at it and turn them down, it must be a legitimate reason. But the NCAA took a long time to look at it, long enough. I think the kid should just start preparing for a pro career. I really do. I mean, at this point, he's kind of delaying his own process here. I mean, how long is this going to play out? And of course, I mean, he needs to get ready for the draft and train for the draft. So his people got to make a decision sooner or later how much they want to pursue this because of the timing of it all.
Well, you know what? Based on some of the things I read, and I don't know if this is true, but I read that Arch Manning last year made $6.8 million in NIL money. I know Mensa made $2.8 million at Duke. So, what is the Arizona State guy getting from Lane Kiffin to go to LSU?
I thought it was
how much? $5 million?
$5 million, I think.
Okay,
yeah.
So if a star quarterback makes $5 million, that's exactly what Chambliss is looking at here. Wouldn't you fight for that if you were his people too, and delay because you're not going to make that much money in the NFL, not the first few years.
I'd fight for it, but like you said, I mean, it didn't turn out really good for James Wiseman. So, I mean, if you're trying to push for a change of venue, they're trying to get home cooking. That's basically it.
Well, the most amazing thing to me is if I had said to you 10 years ago, a kid should stay in school for, unless he's like a top 5 pick, because in essence, he'll make more money in football and in basketball in college than he would as a pro, you would have said, what?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, you're paying quarterbacks $5 and $6 million. It's nuts. Yeah, I mean, and it's a risk. It doesn't mean you'll pay a guy that much money. Will he produce? I mean, Garrett Nussmeier last year, LSU made $3.5 million, and he was hurt all year. You pay that much money, you take a risk.
It's just amazing to think that you can actually make more money in college than you can as a pro player. At least your first few years. Good, I guess, good for college fans because they're going to see the better players. Unless they're a surefire first round, first 2, 3, 4 guys picked, they're going to stay in school because they're going to make more money in school. That is just like 180 to anything we had ever in our lives had ever seen. Before we run out of time, I got to ask you about Indiana, the dominant win they had over their conference brother Oregon. I mean, this was never close, and it makes you see how complete a team, offense, defense, and special teams, that block punt, they just have everything at Indiana with Curt Cignetti.
Yeah, that was a complete victory, and that was just total destruction. Oregon was like a junior high school team, so many turnovers. I know it's an 8.5-point line as far as Indiana favored Miami, but I give Miami a shot at just because of their defense. But they may not win, but I don't know if Miami if they're 8.5-point underdog. I think I look at it as a single possession game. I think Miami keeps stuff close by their pace of play and their defense. They're going to try to slow the gate down with pace of play and then put pressure on the quarterback with their defense, and that it's worked for them so far. Indiana hasn't blinked so far. They're just like, bring on the next person. That's what makes it so interesting. Indiana's like fearless, and Miami's like, well, you haven't played us yet. So that's what I like about this game.
Well, that line today, this morning, at least when I checked, was 8.5, which is amazing because, and I don't know if we'll ever see this again, honestly, because of the way the world works and domes and warm weather stadiums. I'm not sure there is another city with a college team that good that could play the championship game in their own home ballpark. That's really odd in its own right. I mean, even LSU, if they were playing in New Orleans, that's like a home game, but Tulane would have to be there for it to be a home game. So you've got a home field advantage, and yet here's Indiana, an 8.5-point favorite against a team. Remember, most people were saying, Miami doesn't belong in there. They only did that to get an ACC team. Notre Dame got screwed.
Well, it all worked out. You know what? I really thought Indiana would be like a 3.5-point favorite, honestly. I mean, I'm just stunned with the 8.5. I mean, really. I mean, most of the time a home field counts for like maybe 3.5, but I know Miami's good and goes in their favor. But Miami. I understand Indiana's a story to everybody. I get it, but Miami's been a tough out. I mean, they don't a lot of times don't look great what they're doing, but they get it done. But that's why it's 8.5-point favorite. Maybe it hasn't been, but the point spreads haven't been as big for Miami as Indiana. So maybe that's what they're looking at. I feel like Indiana can roll over anybody. Yeah, I guess that's what they're looking at. But 8.5 is a lot.
It is. I'm a little surprised, particularly since Miami is, in essence, literally at home. All right, last thing before we go, there's a lot of discussion about the portal and the new college football calendar. I'm a guy who's been shouting at the top of my lungs, let's change this calendar. You cannot talk to anybody, coach or player, until after the playoff championship game is completed in the middle of January. I think the portal should be after spring practice. I know there's going to be some that are going to talk about school. Well, if you wait till after the spring semester, that works in my mind. And then a player sees the competition he's going to be up against in spring. He's going to know what his coaches think about him. It just seems like a better proposition to make your signing days then in May. That at least the portal. Maybe high school needs to be where it is. Used to be the first week of February. To me, put the portal in May. What do you think?
Well, there's so many guys who want to leave right at the end of the season and start in January, so that might be tough. I can tell you this. Joe Burrow waited till after spring practice at Ohio State before he went to LSU. I mean, he went through spring practice. He got a clear picture of where he was. and decide to leave. So there's merit to what you say. I mean, to understand where I rank on the depth chart here. Am I going to get a chance to play? And maybe I should transfer. It's a wiser way to do it, but I don't know if all of that comes into play with a lot of these decisions as far as being wise. It's all about jumping for the money when it's there. So, I mean, it'll be interesting what they do with the transfer portal. Now, I think, I understand high school kids also want to start early, and the early signing period allows them to do that. But to me, I think they should have a rule where there's only one signing period, that's in February. But if you can graduate in high school in December, you should be eligible to sign and move on to your school and college in January. Only if you graduate. I mean, to me, that should be a determining factor.
That is Ron Higgins. He's our SEC historian down in Baton Rouge. Next Tuesday, we'll recap that championship game, and then we'll move on to SEC hoops, where Vandy is just, I think, taking the world by storm. I love it. It's a great story. Thank you, Ron. I appreciate it. Have a great week.
All right, see you.
That's our man. Down in Baton Rouge, we're going to be moving the Family Leisure Studio from Baton Rouge to South Haven because Muncie on Tiger basketball comes your way in a minute. I remind you, they still have the hot tub and swim spa clearance sale going on where hot tubs start at lower than $2,500. The in-stock patio furniture, Lord knows how much is off. It was 50% off. I've heard 70% off in some instances. If you want special financing, they got it. And if you mention Sports 56, Wolo, Landon Schmidt, whatever you want to say, you get a gift, and it's a good gift. Go check it out. That's I-40 and Whidden Road, just a little to the north, and look to the east, and there you will see this beautiful showroom. Family Leisure, where family and fun all come together. To South Haven we go momentarily right here on Wolo and Friends.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, folks. Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, and I hope your new year has started out in a great way. I think we're all relieved when the holidays are over and life returns to normal. And normal means that special gift-giving occasions always roll around. Over the last 5 decades, we at Russell Brothers have helped thousands of Memphians turn those special occasions into truly memorable celebrations when a small box of exquisite jewelry from Russell Brothers is opened. Beauty, quality, value, and service are what we have offered to our friends and customers for so many years, and all of that is wrapped together in the stunning jewelry you'll find at Russell Brothers Jewelers. Whether you're looking for a very important piece of jewelry for a big occasion, or perhaps just a trendy, whimsical piece to make her smile, we can help you. Remember, beauty, quality, value, and service are our offerings to you every day for every occasion. Come see us at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, 4646 Poplar at Perkins.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right and naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about everything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys, beyond the bottle, Tito's has gained a reputation for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits around the world to serve its communities and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's and learn more at Tito'sVodka.com. 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
In just a few short years, Sunrise has become synonymous with breakfast in Memphis. Sure, Sunrise on Jefferson and Sunrise East on Poplar both serve great lunches, but when Memphians talk about a truly special place for breakfast, Sunrise is always first in the conversation. It's amazing to think that just a few years ago, Sunrise wasn't even an option for breakfast in Memphis, and now it's simply the only answer to the question, who serves the best breakfast in town? Sure, they've won a lot of awards, but the best thing they've won is the fact that when you think of breakfast, you think of Sunrise.
When life crashes into you, literally, NST Law doesn't just show up with a briefcase. They show up with heart. They sit with families after devastating wrecks, look them in the eye, and say, we've got you. No scripts, no legal jargon, just real people fighting for real justice. If someone turned your life upside down, NST helps you stand back up. They've been doing this for over 35 years and have won billions for their clients. NST is the way to go. Call 683-7000 or go to nstlaw.com.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
The Tiger basketball team gets at it tomorrow against Temple. The team is perfect in the league, 3-0. They've won 7 in a row. And we'll see Jason Munn sitting right next to me up there in our little perch. But let's revisit first before we get into that game. What the heck happened in Boca? A total debacle. You tell me, what do you think was the reason that Memphis just didn't show up? Good morning.
Good morning. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I asked Aaron Bradshaw after the game, like what why does this keep happening? Like why is Memphis, why is Penny still having to deal with this halfway through the season? And the best explanation that he gave me was that it's personal reasons, basically. Like, that's exactly what he said. He said guys have their personal reasons for how they, go about their business, and like he's not going to speak to it. So I wish we knew. I genuinely wish we could figure out why this is just a recurring theme with this team. But I mean, that's anybody who watched it could see that, and you didn't even have to watch it. Like, you could just look at the box score, and when you see that you get out rebounded by 17 points and you lose by 11, that's an effort thing. Like, that is not just, I mean, because up to the FAU game, the largest rebounding deficit in a game this season for Memphis was -6.
Right.
So,
and that was playing Purdue and Wake Forest and Vanderbilt, which is still undefeated, and Louisville. Well, that wasn't a good game at Louisville. Those other 3 games I mentioned, they're playing top-quality teams and competing. This game, you know what it reminded me of, Munzie? UNLV. What? They just didn't come to play right off the bat.
Yeah. No, but the point I'm making is, like, even they didn't show up at Louisville. They didn't show up for UNLV. That, like, and yet still, the worst it had been from a rebounding standpoint was -6. So the point is, like, Memphis, even though their numbers don't necessarily bear it out because their defensive rebounding percentage is pretty low, they're still, like, not getting. It's not a question of talent. Like, they can rebound. Like, they can keep it competitive. But when you get so when you have 14 games where it's, like, relatively competitive in every single game, or you are the one who's winning the rebounding battle, and then you lose one by 17, that's an effort thing. And like, they just did not show up outside of a couple of 3 or 4 minute stretches, one to end the first half, and then one where they cut it to 8 late in the game. Outside of those stretches, it was just, they just didn't show up.
I can only think of 3 times where I really thought they might get back in the game, or be a factor in the game. That was the opening 2 or 3 minutes when they had a lead. Mm-hmm. It was the closing 2 or 3 minutes when they went on a 7-0 run, and made that steal and transition bucket and a fast break at the end of the half to cut it to 2. Mm-hmm. And then that little stretch you just talked about. That's maybe 6 minutes of that game where the team really came to play. The other 34 minutes, they just were like sleepwalking through the thing.
Yeah, and it's highly discouraging, I would imagine, if you're a Memphis fan. If you're 15 games into the season, and your back's already against the wall, and this is how you respond. Like, I could only imagine how discouraging that is.
Well, at halftime tomorrow, it'll be halfway through the season. They play 31 games in the regular season, and you're through 15 now, and you're under 500. What did Penny, because I know you cover his radio show all the time, you've written a little bit about it. What did Penny have to say besides, I'm sorry, to the fans at his show yesterday?
Yeah, he apologized on behalf of the Tigers for not showing up. I mean, and I thought that was, that's how he opened the show, was with an apology. And, there really wasn't much else to say besides that, because it had already been, well documented by that point, and he'd already addressed it and everything else. But I mean, it's the same thing that he's been saying. That we're not going to coach effort and energy. We're just not going to do it. Like, you're either going to bring it or you're not. And, we are going to, he did say, we are not panicking. We are not giving up. We are still going to keep trying to get this thing right and get this thing going in the right direction. And to be fair to him and to Memphis, they are 2-1 in the league with a chance tomorrow night at home to, like, if they win that game against Temple, then you're right back in the mix. You're right back. You're right. It's like one game it's one game, but
right. Well, and if they win that game, they're 3-1. So is Temple, and the only team that wouldn't have a loss would be Tulane. And I'm trying to remember who. I'll look this up here. Who they play over the next couple of days.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but yeah.
They play at home against Tulane tomorrow.
Tulane. Who plays at home tomorrow?
Tulane plays at home against UAB. So
gotcha.
There's a good chance they'll be 4-0. They'll be the only undefeated team, but Memphis and Temple would be 3-1 right behind them if Memphis were to win that game. To be totally honest with you, I have no idea what Memphis team shows up. If it's the team that showed up against Purdue, Wake Forest, and Baylor, they should win the game. If it's the team that showed up against UNLV or Florida Atlantic, they're going to lose.
Yeah. Temple's a good team. Like, don't get me wrong. They won 7 in a row. They're 11-5 this season. They're 3-0. They're tied for the first in the American Conference right now. That being said, 2 of their 3 games that they have played since conference started have come against East Carolina and UTSA, which are a combined 0-7 in league play so far this season. They haven't exactly played anybody yet. It is on the road for Temple. They are having to go on the road, so there's that. But that does not change the fact that Temple, like, there are some very good things about Temple. Their leading scorer is Darian Ford. He's scoring almost 18 points a game, and they have this guy Gavin Griffiths, who Penny talked a little bit about last night at his radio show. He's a 6'7" guard, transfer from Nebraska, who leads the team in blocks. Okay, he's got 34 blocks, which is like top 30 in the country right now. He's got 34 blocks. He also is the leading three-point shooter on the team, shooting almost 42% from 3 on 99 attempts. So he's like kind of this do-it-all
It sounds
guy.
like Devin Williams at FAU had 7 blocks against the Tigers.
Just 3 or 4 inches shorter than Devin Williams, this Gavin Griffiths guy. They've got some really good things about them. They also play incredibly slow. Like, it's going to be a drastic contrast in styles. Memphis wants to go fast. Temple does not. Temple actually shoots the 3 really well as a team, but they're only averaging 20 attempts per game, so they do not shoot the 3 very much. But when they do, they shoot it pretty well. So it's gonna be interesting. And then Penny also talked about last night on the show that he said they did some tests on Julius Bedford, and it did not show any structural damage. but he said he's not sure if he's going to play against Temple or not.
I don't like his shot on that, his chances on that. And, he had,
Me neither.
when he played at Western Kentucky, he apparently had some knee issues too, and I know they were checking into that. So let's hope that for the long run, Thetford is going to be okay. There's some nice storylines here. Barry is going to play against his old team, and Adam Fisher was saying some really nice things. And here's a new sad note. This was reported by Greg Gaston. I've been looking for the story, but their assistant coach, Bill Courtney, has passed away.
Yeah, suddenly, apparently it was a sudden thing. And, Temple actually put out a press release about it not too long ago, maybe an hour and a half ago. So that's going to add another wrinkle to this game. Like you always kind of want to guard against. You don't want to have to guard against a team that is playing with some high emotions. But it seems reasonable to think that Temple will be, playing for their late assistant coach and. That might give them a lift, but we'll see.
All right, last thing. We've got a minute and a half. Penny, I think it was on during the show that said his guys have to make changes physically and mentally. Mm-hmm. Give me what you think, one specific physical and mental that he's talking about.
I think physically he means I think it's just overall. I think it's the same answer for both. I think he's talking about toughness. Like they have to get tougher physically. They have to box out. They have to rebound. And I think he's talking mainly about Aaron Bradshaw for one, because he told you in the post game.
Yeah, he did.
He's talking about Aaron. It's nice that he got 21 points, but we need him to rebound better.
And that 5 rebounds, I think that was the season high with the Tigers for 5 rebounds.
Yeah, he's like, it's got to be better than that, which he's not wrong. So I think from the physical side, there's that, and then from the mental side, it's just the toughness in so much as like once things start going a certain way, some of his players have to like not retreat. And because that's that to me is what's happening too much. Penny keeps talking about the comfort zone. Guys aren't willing to step outside their comfort zone when things get tough, and I think that's what he means when he says they got to get mentally tougher.
Well, here's the truth, and I think it's for both of us, not to put words in your mouth, but Memphis played 15 games. I have no idea what to expect tomorrow. None.
100%. And I think the sample size is big enough now.
Yeah.
That people need to start accepting the fact that it's going to just be a crapshoot the rest of the way.
I'm with you. Jason Munz, always a pleasure. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll talk again next Tuesday. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Wolo.
That is the man from the Commercial Appeal who writes on the Tigers in a tremendous way. That is Jason Munz. That'll do it for us tomorrow. The usual. We're going to have a great show. We start with Dennis Philippi, the business of sports with Joe Dank, and then we've got the roundtable. That's all tomorrow. Coming up next, Johnny Radio. Have a great day.